Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming on tonight. As you enter, make sure that you are muted. Thank you again for joining us on tonight. There are some instructions that you can see that's on the screen. Please put your name, city, and parish in the chat so that we can give you a shout out. Okay, I see Mandeville, I see Ruston, Marrero, Bossier, City. We are going to get started momentarily. Thank you again for joining us on tonight, and we have a special treat for you on tonight. So hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We still have people continually joining us on tonight. We're letting people in from the waiting room, and as you do that, please feel free to introduce yourself, as some of you have already have. My name is Keisha, and I am from Ipperville Parish, and I'll be moderating tonight's session. We will get started soon, and we're just going to give folks a couple more minutes to join today's session. We don't want to leave anyone out on tonight. So I did get some shout outs early. We have Baton Rouge on the line. We have Livingston Parish, Orleans Parish, Bossier City, Mandeville, Ruston, Marrero. So if you have not called your city, please put your name, city or town, and parish in the chat. And thank you for joining us, and feel free to keep introducing yourself. We want to welcome everyone to the second of the two sessions titled Advocacy 101, a mini-series hosted by the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children and Stand for Children Louisiana. My name is Keisha Fleming. I am from Ipperville Parish, and I am a proud educator advocate and a Stand Lead Fellow. I see some other places coming through, Bruley. I think I saw Lafayette on as well. We're thrilled to have you with us here on tonight. Welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time, and welcome back to those of you who joined us on last week. If you missed last week, I will let you know how you can also get that information. Tonight is the second of the two sessions about the basics of advocacy. Last week, we focused on how a bill becomes a law, and we are showing a visual now to remind us all of that process. On last week, my biggest takeaway is how many points in the process allow for constituent input. So for us to be able to talk to our politicians. So watch a recap of last week's session and learn how a bill becomes a law in detail. Visit the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children's YouTube channel. And that link is in the chat. We also talked about how to identify your elected officials and how to look up bills. There's a recording of last week's session available on Louisiana Policy Institute's YouTube page, which we will put in the chat and share after the end of this session. This evening, we will talk about how to take advantage of the many opportunities to share our input on proposed legislation by going over how to email and call your elected officials, as well as how to plan a visit to the state capitol. But Before we get started, I'd like to give a little bit more information about the work that our host organizations do in the state of Louisiana. So our two host organizations are Stand for Children. Stand for Children Louisiana organizes and advocates for strong education policies that best serve students, elect educational champions who are committed to making decisions that are best for students, and hold public officials accountable for ensuring these policies are put into effect properly. The Louisiana Policy for Children is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that is an independent source of data, research, and information for policymakers and stakeholders on issues related to early child care and education for young children birth to 4 in Louisiana. So we do have a few housekeeping items during this session. Feel free to use the chat if you have any questions, or a direct message Rhea Lewis, the host. If you do speak, please make sure to mute your mic once you're finished talking. I hope everyone is ready to dive in. So let's get started. So again, on last week, we talked about the legislative session, which is when elected officials debate and vote on which bill to pass into law. Oftentimes, these bills affect us and our communities, which means we need to make sure that we have a say in what our elected officials are doing. Our legislators' job is to represent us, but unless we communicate with them, they won't know where we stand on issues. It is really, really important that we tell them whether or not we agree with the content of the bill, or if we want a bill to be passed or not, or else we will agree or disagree with a particular bill. The way to communicate with your elected officials is by sending emails, which may be quicker for some who are tech savvy, making phone calls, or visiting the state capitol. When you take these actions, you are making sure your legislator hear your input so that they can keep your opinion in mind when they are an author or vote on a bill. It is now my pleasure to introduce Candace Weber. She is a partnership director at the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, who will talk to us about how to reach she will talk to us about how to reach out to our elected officials. Candace develops and leads strategic partnerships to bolster statewide coalitions of early child care and education advocates, including the Ready Louisiana Coalition. Candace, thank you so much for joining us on tonight.
Thank you, Keisha. Good evening. I'm super excited to be here tonight. It's definitely important to learn how to communicate with our elected officials. So sometimes you may wonder, where do I start? Where do I begin? And so this evening, let's start by talking about making phone calls. And so first and foremost, I want to assure you all that making a call is actually much easier than you may think. So we're going to take it step by step. And so let's start with step one, which is finding your legislator's phone number. So at this time, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see, I do need presenting right. Here we go. And give me 1 second. There we go. All right, can you all see my screen? All right, so this is the Louisiana State Legislature's homepage. And so actually, if we can drop this link in the chat for everyone, because I really want everyone to follow along with me as I go through this. So host, if we can drop it in the chat, that will be helpful. So when you get on the homepage, there's a lot of information which we'll go through briefly this evening, but I want to draw your attention to the left. Who are my legislators? And so we're going to start by finding out who our legislator is. And so If you have that link, just click on who are my legislators, and it's going to prompt you to enter your address to identify who is your legislator. So I am going to type in address 900 North 3rd Street in Baton Rouge 70802. And then I'm going to hit the find. And from there, it brings up my House representative, my state senator, my US congressman, and then my 2 US senators. And so for tonight's demonstration, I'm just going to use my state senator. And so you see all of the names are hyperlinked. And so if I want more information on my legislator, I'm just going to click on their name. And so hopefully you all are doing this as well for your own senator. And so as you can see, Senator Fields' information pops up for me. And so if I scroll down just a little bit, I can see where his office is located, his phone number, and also his email address. And so since we're working on the phone call piece, I'm going to make sure I jot down the phone number. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So now that you have, recommend that you take just a few minutes to plan ahead and practice saying or jot down the information you want to say during your call. I am a huge advocate of using my phone, or I jot down notes just so that, I stay on message. But the first thing you want to mention when you make a phone call, state your name, your parish of residence. If you're familiar with the lawmaker through like any business or personal relationships, for example, if you go to the same church, if you live down the street from them, you may have a mutual friend, just mention that at the beginning of the phone call, just to help give it even more power and weight. The second thing is you'll want to talk about the exact action that you want your lawmaker to take on a specific bill. And so this can be voting yes in support, voting no in opposition, or introducing an amendment to make the bill better. And so third, I should say, in a sentence or two, you want to talk about why this issue matters to you personally. So how does this issue make you feel? If this bill were to pass, how does that impact your family, your neighborhood, your city? If it doesn't pass, how does that affect you? So the more personal you can make it, the better. And so, of course, you can always use facts and figures, but sharing your personal reasons usually carries more weight. And of course, lastly, before ending your call, make sure to thank them for their time. Another thing that I would note is that your call will likely not be answered by your legislator themselves, but rather by one of their staffers, who will then likely pass your message along to your legislator. And so also, if you're making the phone call between normal business hours, which is Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., it's more than likely someone will answer. Otherwise, if it's outside of the hours, you could just leave a voice message. When a bill is coming up to vote, so this is important, make the phone call before the actual voting day. And we recommend that you call the day before by 9 a.m. So the day before the bill is scheduled to be voted on. And so both of our organizations will remind you when bills are going to be voted on. We send out action alerts. So you don't have to track or watch the bills every day. The cohorts, our organizations will be sure to take care of that for you. And again, for those who joined last week, we talked about House Bill 460, or HB 460 for short. This was the bill introduced by Representative Kim Brass, which is currently making its way through the legislative process as we speak. If passed, HB 460 would allow certain parishes to use juvenile justice tax dollars to fund early care and education, so that it decreases the amount of children who end up participating in the juvenile justice system. All right, so now I'm going to do a practice phone call. as if I were to call my senator. So I'm with Senator Fields, and I'm going to tell him to vote yes on HB 460. So first, again, I want to take a few minutes, think about what I'm going to say in order to keep the message very focused and then make the call. So I'm just going to pick up my phone as if I'm calling. Here we go. Hello, my name is Candace Weber. I'm in East Baton Rouge Parish, 70802, and I'm calling to express my support for HB 460 to Senator Fields. Please let Senator Fields know that I want him to vote yes for HB 460. This bill is really important to me because it helps more young children access early care and education programs. There is research that shows early care and education programs help prevent young people from entering the juvenile justice system. And I personally believe that prevention is a really effective use of my tax dollars. So please tell Senator Fields to support HB 460 when it comes up for the vote in the Senate. Thank you for your time. And then I would hang up. So as simple as that. So are there any, well, I hope that gives you all a sense of how easy it is to make the phone call. Like I said, I know it can be a little intimidating at first, but it's really that simple. So does anyone have any questions about calling your legislators? You can either come off mute or put it in the chat. And host, if there is something in the chat, if you can help me out, that would be great. All right, well, if you guys think of anything, again, drop it in the chat and we'll be sure to address it. So at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Keisha for our breakout room activity.
Thank you so much, Candace. You made it look so simple. And I hope that everyone caught on, because at this time, you are going to be put into a breakout room. You're going to partner with someone else. So you're going to get an opportunity to meet someone new on tonight. And you're going to practice making a call. So first you're going to introduce yourself, and then one person goes first, of course. The first person will practice calling your legislator and tell them to vote yes on HB Bill 460. The other person will listen and then give feedback. So I hope you were listening to Candace when she was talking about the bill. The other person will listen and then give them feedback. Then switch it up so the other person makes a call and receives feedback from the first person. So it becomes second nature, that you won't be intimidated when calling your legislator. So we're going to post a link with some talking points that you can use when you call your lawmakers, as well as writing emails and public comments. But remember, in order to keep it brief, we suggest using one of the three of these points. Feel free to share your quick personal story or your personal reasons about why this issue matters to you. So you can't give a dissertation, but just 3 quick points. So are you ready to be placed in a breakout room? I hope everybody's saying yes behind their mute. So Karen will put the file in the chat that you will use. So one more time, you'll be partnered with someone, then you will take turns so that one person practice making a phone call to your legislator and the other person gives feedback. Feel free to use the link in the chat, which has some talking points. Remember, this is practice. You don't have to be perfect, as Candace was. She was just so on it. She gave all the right points. She was quick. She was on, just to the T. So remember, this is practice, and it does not have to be perfect. Just do your best. And of course, that's with anything. Just do your best. So we're going to start breaking out into our rooms.
Is there anyone that's having trouble joining their breakout room?
Remember to put yourself on mute as you start to come back in from practicing your calls. Perfect. Last 10 seconds or so for people to come back, and then we'll get started. As you're coming back from your breakout room, please remember to put yourself on mute.
Fire.
Out of the room.
Good. Welcome back. As you come back from your breakout rooms, please remember to put yourself back on mute so we can go ahead and get started. Thank you.
Keisha, I think everyone's actually back in the main room.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone had a chance to practice making a phone call, and it helped explain the process even more. I want to give a shout out to Ms. Kathleen. She was actually my partner, and she did a phenomenal job of calling her legislator on tonight. So would anyone like to practice making a phone call to the larger group, which is the group we're in now? Would anyone like to practice? Okay, I think we're a little shy tonight. So are there any final questions about calling legislators? Okay, well, we will move on to emailing our legislator, but like before, please ask questions. If anything comes up, please place them in the chat and we'll make sure that we answer them before the end of the session.
All right, so then we will move on to emailing your legislator. And so it is pretty similar to making calls. And so first, we recommend putting the bill number and the requested action in the subject line. So we really want to make the most of the subject line. And so something like please vote yes on HB 460, get straight to the point, while a subject line like please support young learners by expanding the use for which certain tax dollars can be used. So number one, that's really long for a subject line. It's confusing, and your legislator may not know which bill you're referring to or which action you want them to take. And so also when possible, keep a positive tone. And so from experience, elected officials have shared that deeply antagonistic or offensive emails are often disregarded or just held in lower esteem. And so we recommend you just stay cordial and positive. Another general rule of thumb for an email is to keep them clear, short. Legislators only have a limited amount of time to read emails. And so you can also use bolded font and or underline specific parts of the text to emphasize the bill number and the action. Also, if you want your legislator to know that you're their constituent, you can include your address or street name, city and zip code, just to show them that you are indeed from their area. You can also contact legislators who may not represent your district, but who are on key committees that vote on a bill in order to move it to the full chamber. And so as of now, HB 460 has been assigned to the Senate Committee on Judiciary B. And this committee hasn't scheduled yet a date to hear HB 460. But since we know that HB 460 is going to be heard very soon, let's find out which legislators are on Senate Committee on Judiciary B and get their contact information. So I am going to share my screen again. 1 second. All right, so here we go. So I'm back on the legislature's homepage again, and this time I'm going to select committee. Can everyone see my screen? Great.
Yeah, you can see it.
Thank you. Also too, if you can follow along with the link as I'm doing this, that may be helpful as well. So I'm gonna look at committees and I'm gonna hit Senate Committee. Oops. And then remember, HB 460 is gonna be in Judiciary B. And so I see that right here. And I'm gonna click on that as well. And this is the committee page. And so on the top right, there's the Contact Us section where my mouse is circling. And actually this email address is the committee's email address. So if I wanted to email the Judiciary B committee, this is the email address I would use. Now, if I wanted to see who's on that committee, I would just scroll down the bottom of the page, and all of the committee members are listed here as well. And as you can see, they are also hyperlinked. And so if I clicked any one of these committee members' name, just like with my Senator Fields, their information comes up as well. If I wanted to reach out to them directly, their information is displayed as well. But again, you can, I'll go back. This email address, the top right, will contact the full committee. All right, I am going to stop share briefly. All right, so again, you can email all committee members at once, or you can copy or use the CC function when you send individual emails. And so just like for calls, you can email your legislators at any time. But if a bill is about to be voted on, again, we recommend sending the email before 9 a.m. the day before the bill is scheduled. And then carbon copy the committee email as well. And so again, our organization will send out action alerts so that you know when to email your legislator about a particular bill. So in addition to reaching out to Senator Fields, who represents my district, I can also reach out to anyone else who's on the Senate Committee on Judiciary B, since they will be voting on HB 460 very soon. And I want to urge them to support HB 460. So here's what a sample email about HB 460 to the Senate Committee on Judiciary B would look like. And that's how you write an email or letter to your legislator. That's not too hard, right? Any questions? You either can come off mute to ask a question or put it in the chat. And let's see. Thank you, Don. Yes, quite simple. Yes, I agree. All right, so then we are going to move on to our final section, visiting the Capitol. So first, I want to do a quick poll. So how many folks have visited the Louisiana State Capitol before? And so you should see a poll pop up to let us know. See the responses coming in. Got about 10 more seconds. All right. Wow. So majority of you have, about 80% of you have visited the Capitol before, which is great. Hopefully you guys will have a lot of feedback as well as we go through that. So we'll go through this section. So, but for those who haven't, it's something that you haven't gotten to do yet, or if it seems intimidating, remember, always remember, and I have to remind myself, the legislators work for you because you are, their constituent, your community elected them, and you have just as much as a right to be there as they do. And so, Keisha, I know you were recently at the Capitol to learn about the legislative process and talk with legislators. Can you share a bit about that trip with us and your experience?
Absolutely. Very, very exciting opportunity to be there at the Capitol. Like you said, intimidating, but it was also an exciting day. So I did spend the day earlier in this month because I'm a part of Stand Lead Fellowship. But after listening to the testimony and the conversations we were able to have with the legislators, like you said, they're people, they're just like us. But I realize how important it is for them to know our thoughts, how we feel about the bills, because we're the constituents, we're parents, we're teachers, and students being in the building where laws are being written. Even while we're there, there was a field trip with kids there, and they were actually learning about the process. So I got an opportunity to talk with a few legislators, which I never thought I'd have an opportunity to do. But it was clear that the representatives and the senators wanted to hear from us. And they did listen to what we as teachers, because there was a room full of teachers and some very tight conversations. They wanted to know what we had to say and ask great follow-up questions. So it was clear to me that they really cared and they wanted to hear from us. Like I said, it was exciting, but a little intimidating.
If you can, yep, thank you. It's hearing a little bit of feedback, but thanks for sharing that, Keisha. And since we had so many of you that have visited the Capitol before, feel free to share any insights you have from your last trip in the chat. And so I'm gonna, share a few ideas for planning a trip to the Capitol. So the public is welcome inside the Capitol during business and meeting hours. And so you can visit the Capitol to talk to your legislators, to attend scheduled meeting with the governor for advocacy days hosted by organizations like our co-host. You can go to testify at a committee meeting or just to observe session, which I actually did earlier today. And so, because right now we are in the middle of our 2022 legislative session, which will end on or before Monday, June 6th. And so every single Monday through Thursday, there are many, many, many people at the Capitol that are advocating for issues they care about. And so a couple of things that you'll expect to see when you're there. And so if you're there and you want to actually lobby for or against a bill, the best time to visit is during the committee meeting where the public is allowed to testify. But before you can testify, you have to fill out a card. And so there's a green card, which means it's in support of a bill. There's a red card, red card, which is in opposition to the bill. You'll also see their white cards, and those are subject matter experts. They fill out the card to provide information only. And they're not, they're not going to speak in favor or of or against the bill. And so while testifying may seem intimidating, remember, you are the expert in your experience. Policymakers want to hear from you because you are the expert on how policy will impact you. And so even I mentioned I was there earlier today, and I did get to hear from a few legislators present, and they actually said, we want a relationship with our constituents. We want to hear from them. We want, if you see us in the hall, speak to us. And so Keisha, when you were there, did the elected officials you spoke with say anything about wanting to hear from constituents?
Yes, they were very welcoming. And that was really the number one thing that we heard, whether we spoke with a representative, a senator, our BESI members, elected officials ask that we reach out and share our thoughts. If they don't know what we're thinking, then they can't help us. So they want to know what we think. So it was very, very exciting.
Yes, yes. And, when you testify, committees do require that you introduce yourself with your name. Often they'll request your position, whether you're a parent, concerned citizen, or if your job title, if you work in a field affected by the legislation being considered. We do recommend preparing your testimony in advance so that you can read it from a paper or a device on your phone or other device. And so this just helps you stay on message and hit all the major points. So just like in a call or email, your testimony should address why this vote is important to you and how it would impact you or those you care about. So depending on how full a committee's agenda is, sometimes testimony is limited to 2 minutes per person or 3 minutes for people representing an organization. In addition to attending committee meetings, many conversations with legislators happen in the hallways. The hallways are often filled with people throughout session. And so that's some of the best times to talk with your representative or with any representative, which is going in between committee meetings. And so here are a few pictures of stand members talking with legislators they ran into in the middle of the hallway. So let's go back to HB 460, which right now, as we said, has been assigned to the Senate Committee on Judiciary B. The committee hearing for HB 460 isn't on the agenda, hasn't been scheduled yet. But once the date has been announced, you can attend this committee meeting and give public comment. If you visit the homepage, the page that you have the link to now of the state legislature's website, it lists the committee meetings that are scheduled for that day as well as upcoming meetings. And so again, we will send out action alerts to let you know when HB 460 has been scheduled in committee to help you plan your visit. A couple of logistics on parking. So, actually before parking, I do want to make one more comment. When planning out when to make a trip to the Capitol, the best times to attend a full day are Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Or the day, of course, when your specific bill of interest is being heard in the full chamber or the committee. Mondays are generally only have activity in the afternoon, and Friday is generally a travel day for legislators to return to their home districts. If you drive to the Capitol, parking is usually available along River Road, which is just a short walk to the Capitol. You enter the Capitol through the basement level on the side entrance. When you enter, your bags will go through an X-ray machine. You'll walk through a metal detector. It's really quick. Once you're in, you would take the elevators, or you can take the stairwell from the basement level to the rotunda, which is on the first floor. There will be staff working from behind the information desk on the rotunda who will help you find wherever it is you're trying to go. And it's also helpful to know there is a cafeteria in the Capitol. So if you want to purchase food or beverages during your visit, you're more than welcome to do that. Now, of course, we all know that traveling to Baton Rouge on a work day is not always easy to do. So if you can't do that, that's okay. You still can make calls and email your legislators about bills that you care about. And so earlier I mentioned that advocacy organizations sometimes host advocacy days at the Capitol. And so we'd like to invite every one of you on the call to the Early Ed Day at the Capitol, which is co-hosted by many organizations who are committed to helping young children in Louisiana have access to high quality early care and education. Early Ed Day at the Capitol is scheduled for Tuesday, May 10th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And so I believe Karen is putting the link to register in the chat. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat or feel free to email me directly. And you should see that information in the chat as well. And so I know, so we had like 80% of the folks in the poll that have visited the state capitol. So I just wanted to take a pause and see if there are others who want to share some words of wisdom or their experience with us. So I will take a breath and see if anyone wants to share.
Hello, I'm Suresh. Thank you so much for all the information and this great information that I really wanted to hear. My visit to the Capitol is really an eye-opening to me. I realized how important my voice is. One of the sessions we were stating is that was the testimonies about the teacher retirement and other things and return to work kind of policies. And they were talking about how teachers work, how much they work, and all the things that they're talking about. We realized that they have no clue what teachers are going through in a classroom. So when we came out of the session, we were really, I think Senator Price we were talking to, and afterwards we shared all of our thoughts and everything that we've expressed to him. And we realized that they have no clue. They're sitting over there, a lot of senators have no understanding of what we're doing in a classroom and how much social emotional learning should take place and how much teachers responsible over there for students and all. So, and after all this, my visit, I really made sure that I attend every board meeting in my district. In the past, I was just kind of going there only when I had to go, when my time is there. But as a matter of fact, yesterday, I just scheduled my time to visit my school board meeting and see what's going on, because I really wanted to know what's happening in my district. After experiencing at the Capitol, then I realized that, okay, if there is something that I need to tell, I need to stand up and speak. So I really want to tell you that I'm really motivated, and also came to know that how much I can actually, I matter, when they make all these resolutions and the laws and all these things. So just it's very important to stand up and speak. That's my experience.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Suresh, for sharing that. That is very, very powerful. Like you said, I mean, you are the expert at your experience, and like I said, they weren't aware. So thank you for using your voice. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
We may have time for one more share out, or either in the chat, or if someone wants to come off mute and tell us your experience or any words of wisdom for those who have not been to the Capitol yet.
I see a comment from Charuba and also from Kelsey. I'm not sure if you wanted to read those out loud.
Yes. All right. So yes. So Sharuba says, even school admin forget how it is in the classroom. Rochelle, so true. Again, you got another shout out, Suresh, from Dawn. Thank you for sharing. And then Kelsey says, go Suresh, so true. I didn't realize how quickly people will make a decision on something they know nothing about, or they just will move forward until someone stops them. Wow. So again, very important to use your voice if you can make it to the Capitol and speak with legislators. It is very important. And, as you just heard from Suresh, could be very impactful. So before we wrap up.
One more question in the chat box, Candace. Sorry, if you want to go ahead and answer, if you want to answer that one or pass it along, I'm happy to help too.
Yep, let me see. So I see a comment from Kathleen. So
yep.
You're talking with legislators. Do you ask them to commit to voting for the bill you are supporting? Well, if they are your legislator or even a committee, you can say you urge them to support it, like whatever your position is, whether it's for or against, using the same type of messaging that we use in the example, like making it personal and why. But yes, you can ask them to
I mean,
support.
can you ask them, can you say, can we count on your vote?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. She asked, can we use the language, can we count on your vote? And
I mean,
would
shouldn't
say
we commit?
you definitely can. And a lot of times it'll depend on the legislation and the legislator that you're talking to. It's really powerful language. Like Candace mentioned before, depending on somebody's position, it might be not more helpful, but sometimes it's helpful to stay a little more positive and less, it depends. If there's 20 people coming and every single one of them asks the same question in a line, that can be a little much, but if one or two of them sprinkle that in, can we commit on, can we count on your vote? Absolutely. It's great language and it shows that it's we're together. So yes, thanks, Kathleen. That's really great language.
Great question. Thank you for asking that.
I have a question. This is Dawn. My question is just into a statement that you mentioned earlier. It was about the alerts that the two different organizations on this call provide. Are there links to sign up for that? I am signed up on the LA Gov for those alerts, but you mentioned the two organizations, STAN and LPIC, have alerts as well?
Yes, we do. And Karen or Rhea, keep me honest. I mean, now that we have your information from attending this training, I think it's very easy to get you on our distro as well. Karen or Rhea, anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also going to put the links into the chat right now to subscribe to both organizations' emails. So thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you both. Or thank you everyone, not both. Everybody?
Great question. No, great question. Great question. Any other questions? You guys have some good ones. All right, if you think of anything, again, feel free to drop it in the chat. Even if it's about visiting the Capitol or any of the things that we've talked about this evening. And so thank you for your participation. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Keisha to close us out for this evening.
Thank you so much, Candace. We have gotten a lot of information. Thank everyone for hanging with us. I think two words that kind of stand out to me right now is voice and visibility. And that is whether that's in person, whether it's by sending an email or a telephone call. So your voice matters, your visibility matters. And of course, we want to thank Candace for taking us through an incredible, helpful session on tonight. She was very, very in-depth, very, very personable, and we really want to thank her for tonight's session. So thank you so much. So now we would like to introduce the raffle winner for tonight's training. Can we get a drum roll, please? So our winner for tonight's raffle is Miranda Grimion. I hope I am saying your name correctly. If not, I apologize.
Yes, you are. Hey, I never win anything, guys. I'm so happy over here.
Yay!
Yes,
Well, I am
you.
so excited for you that you are able to win with us on tonight. See, we're a team of winners. So thank you so much. Congratulations for participating. And we have your email address and your phone number. So Rhea will be in touch with you how to send your gift card electronically this week. So go out and treat yourself. Do some self-care. All right. So I'm going to do a real quick recap. First, when lobbying, whether calling, writing, visiting, always make it personal. Make it your story. Make sure you share your name, your district, and why this issue or vote is important to you. But of course, remember to be polite when you're making your firm stance and be specific about the action that you want your legislator to take. You can find their contact information at www.legislative.la.gov. Next, the Capitol is your building, and you can visit it anytime. If you plan to visit, make a public if you plan a visit to make a public comment before a committee hearing, remember to prepare your testimony. That makes it less intimidating. And fill out a public comment card. You can also speak to legislators when you see them around the Capitol, in between meetings, or in the hallway, like we showed on some of the slides. Finally, look out for action alerts because they will remind you when you need to take action. So that was another power word on tonight, action alerts. We enjoy having you with us on tonight, and we would love to see you in person in Baton Rouge for our Early Ed Day at the Capitol on Tuesday, May 10th. And the registration link is in the chat. So when we get together, we have a really good time all the time. Well, we had a good time on tonight as well. So make sure that you register if you would like to be a part. Make sure you follow our co-host organizations on social media to stay up to date as priority bills make their way through the legislative process. And as Candace said, the legislative session is until June 6th. We will follow up with a quick survey, a recording and recap of tonight's training and last week's training, and all these links via email. So if you're on this call right now, then you receive it via email. We still have 5 more weeks, like I said, Monday, June 6th. So you have plenty of time to send those emails, make those calls, and plan visits to the Capitol. Remember, visibility and voice. We thank all of you for participating on tonight's call. It was truly a pleasure spending time with you this evening, and we are grateful to have you as champions for young children in our state. Thank you again to Candace for all of the information she has given us, and good night to everyone, and take care. Thank you so much.